bit late. I was just I've just got my IT guru online helping me sort it out. My internet sucks. Anyway, hey Jimmy, thank you, bro. I'll speak to you soon. Okay.
Hey, the man. All good. Yeah, apologies for being late. I turned the computer on and it had a bloody update, and I'm like, bloody.
Mate, sounds all too familiar with me and technology.
Oh,
Anyway, man. So good to meet you.
Yeah, man. You too. You too. I appreciate you taking the time to do this sort of stuff. I don't know if you've ever had an arm wrestler approach you before about getting stronger.
I'm not. I'll tell you a secret of mine. A lot of the athletes that I work with, I don't know a huge amount about their sports.
Yeah.
Until after I start working with them. But
Yeah.
the way that I train a lot of footy players, train martial artists. Like I know a little bit about martial arts, but that doesn't matter. Like the way that I train people is to get them strong. And I think that's something that I focus a lot on is not thinking too much about the sport, thinking about what we do inside the gym and getting the body strong. Obviously, the sport matters, but it's never to replace the sport with strength training. Do you know what I mean? And that's not going to be my intention with you. And with that approach, I've got a lot of good results. A lot of people try to imitate a lot of, the sporting movement in the gym, which I know a lot of people do with arm wrestling, and I see a lot of the arm wrestling style of training. But something that I always fall back on is understanding the long game.
Yeah.
And if you want to play the long game, you got to be doing it, injury free for a long period of time. And this is how I structure all of my training. So, I'll be learning a lot about arm wrestling as we go, but I do definitely know how to make you strong.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and I agree with you on the long game side of thing. That's what excites me. I don't really get that much of a kick out of goals in the next 6 to 12 to 24 months. I'm like, what can I achieve in 10 years, 15 years? That's what excites me.
How old are you now?
I'm 37. Yeah. So, which is old for a lot of sports, but arm wrestling, uniquely, you can be at your best at 65. Legit.
No
in this sport.
shit.
Legit, you can. You really can.
Maybe I should start doing that. I'm an old timer now, so maybe it's perfect for me.
Yeah, well, that's like legit. Look at people like the greatest arm wrestler of all time, John Brzenk. He's 58 years old. He is still top 3 in the world at his weight category, and he's making a comeback. And like he's been the world champ for almost 40 years continuous.
No shit.
It's crazy. And the oldest guy in the world who's still legitimately at the peak, Crazy George Zakowicz, he's like 73 years old. He's top 5 in the world at 80 kilos.
Yeah.
73.
That's insane. How cool is that, though?
Yeah. So it is a cool sport in that respect. And to give you a bit of background on how I came about reaching out to you, it was I got to the top of what I could feel within myself. The curve of progress was really flattening when I was hitting specific arm wrestling training, hand, wrist, pronation, that sort of stuff. And I took a loss to the Latvian 90 kilo champ, Raymond Zlibens, and he belted me. And I felt...
This is the recent loss?
Yeah, in Istanbul, maybe 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it felt to me like fundamental strength through the chest, through the shoulders, through the bicep was what I was missing in terms of just being able to hang with him. And I went away from that saying, okay, I need to increase my foundational strength so that I can then increase the ceiling on my arm wrestling specific strengths. And the arm wrestling community generally agree with me. They're like, yeah, this is where you got to go. So that was the reason why I'm like, okay. And I have a whole bunch of people that are really strong friends from backgrounds that I could lean on, but I'm like, no, I want to do this. I want to do it with someone that I'm going to have no excuses. I'm going to have my own personal motivation. So I saw a whole bunch of people in my YouTube channel saying, dude, Sebastian lives in Australia. You should reach out to him.
That's cool that I'm getting referrals from other people, especially on YouTube. Every time I jump on YouTube, it's a totally new audience to me, and I feel like they kind of it's a really tough one to tap into because like all the concepts that I teach are very, I don't know, I guess unique to powerlifting, but also kind of like taboo amongst the general population. It's like, arching in a bench press and doing all these exercises. It's like the masses just don't understand it. So I feel like, that's a surprise that YouTube are pointing into my direction, but that's good news, I guess.
Yeah, it was lots of people in my comment section were sending me your way. So
yeah, cool.
So where would you start if I said to you I don't want to squat? Is that gonna?
No.
Would you be like?
No, not at all. I don't actually have an emotional attachment to exercise. So this is this is my theory. I'll be totally honest with you. I love squatting. I do have a huge bias towards my own squatting, but it's something that I teach a lot of. Like, you don't need to squat to be an arm wrestler. You don't even need to train legs. I would add it in, just because, just in life, I think it looks better to have a balanced physique upstairs to downstairs, in front of the body to back of the body. But if you turned to me and said, like, I don't want to, I'd probably try and educate you on the benefits of having, stronger lower body. But if you said to me, I physically can't, like if you're in a wheelchair kind of thing, which some people, like, I could still make someone in a wheelchair, like someone in a wheelchair could still be the best in the world in arm wrestling,
Yeah, so to that degree, I'm keen to, and I'm willing to squat. I guess the better answer is I'm not interested in pursuing significant squat strength, functionality, and health, and all that for balance through my core and all that. Yeah, awesome. Because I do think that will affect my arm wrestling. I do think it will.
Yeah,
but I don't.
I agree. I agree that if we do it right, there will be some benefit. Yeah, as you say, through your core. But at the same time, what I would always have in the forefront of my mind is understanding the way that exercises interfere with each other. Like for recovery, they compete for recovery. So it's like, for example, when I train someone to do a deadlift competition, I will still include upper body. I'll still include all of the pressing exercises, which are with a much lower, I don't know if you're familiar with terms like RPE. Like with a much lower level of effort for the body parts that aren't as significant, because it's simply central fatigue that it's going to be fighting for recovery. And something that I've had a lot of success with a lot of my high level athletes isn't pushing them. It's actually teaching them how to back off, teaching them how to recover, teaching them that they're doing too much work. Right.
I've heard that commonly amongst people when they've got a coach, they've backed off.
So that's the thing, because people at a high level, like especially with goals like yours to be the best, like I work with a lot of people with that goal, and I'm not a motivator anymore. I used to be when I first started as a personal trainer. Have to motivate people, but I get people like you that are
the motivation's fine.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to sit there and say, come on, you can do it kind of thing. It's more along the lines of, you guys want to be the best and you're prepared to do what it takes. And it's my job to sit there and say, just another set of eyes just to rationalize and say when it's too much, when it's not enough. Like I do believe in hard work, but if you work hard every single time you come into the gym, it makes it a lot more difficult to progress. So something that I talk a lot about is periodizing effort. So it definitely, like, to put it simply, it means you're not beating yourself up every time you come into the gym. You don't have to train to fail every time you come to the gym. You don't have to train as hard as you can every time you come into the gym. In fact, it's better if you don't. And I still want at sometimes for you to push as hard as you can, but those occasions are actually kind of like less than 50% of it, like probably about 25% of the time.
Yeah, okay. And I can certainly admit that I'm guilty of having a very disorganized routine. I habitually am someone who gets in the gym and I just feel, and I just say to myself, I'm going to be here for 2 hours. I put a podcast on and I just train. It's usually arm wrestling specific stuff, and I won't count my sets or reps. I'll just work till fatigue. I'll change to another exercise. Work till fatigue. Change back. And where I go with it, I don't even know. Like I'll turn up saying, I think I'm going to do my pronation and my wrist flexion today, and I'll just loosely navigate through it. I train every day. I have trained every day for about 9 years, and I probably split it into 2 sessions. Like I've typically been one light light session where RPE's around 3 through to 6, and then one shorter, heavier session where I go RPE 7 through to 9 or something like that. Occasionally for YouTube, I do 10s just because YouTube.
Hey, I know. I live and breathe social media as well. I get it. I get it. You know, that sounds like, you know, you're not a bad person for not having a structure most of the time. And it's definitely, you can still improve. If you've got good experience, you know, and training intuition, you can definitely make that work. But you know, I always say if you've got a plan, you kind of got to do a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
I got a good buddy Lachlan there who is the #1 ranked guy in Australia. I'm the #2 ranked, so he will be laughing at this conversation when he sees it that he's been trying to preach to me structure forever, and I've been like, fuck the structure, don't need it.
Yeah.
He's like, well, you listen to Sebastian, but not me, eh? Well,
well, I think we all know it deep down, but at the same time, I'll tell you something else that I'm really huge on is a thing called training morale and enjoying what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, you know, training to a structure, and this is something that I'm also, you know, very helpful with is understanding that things don't always go to plan, you know. So, for example, you know, I might set a program that's, you know, 4 weeks. I like to program 4 weeks at a time, but I still have, you know, the longer term in the back of my mind. But it always changes based on the feedback that I get, you know, and, you know, a lot of the times this is something that I teach a lot of the people that I work with is I'm just going to use arbitrary numbers. So if I write 100 kilograms for whatever exercise and it's not there for that day, you better not do it. You know what I mean? Like, don't push yourself to do it just because the program says so. You know, we're not robots, and you know, like we don't progress linearly.
Yep.
But the way that I try and make it, this is why we periodize effort and have, you know, like I usually start the program with low intensity and gradually increase over a 4-week block. Mm-hmm. You know, so like if we were to score the session, give the session an RPE, I would say week 1 would be like RPE 7. Yep. Week 2 RPE 8, week 3 RPE 9, and week 4 we reassess / deload. So you don't always have to deload, or sometimes with our deloads it depends on the individual. Sometimes with our deloads, I like to continue to increase the intensity, but back off the volume. So sometimes, like a lot of the times, the people that I work with on week 4, that's kind of like PB time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And we'll come in and we'll do like maybe 1 or 2 top sets, and that's it. And that's the whole session. And it's a massive reduction in volume as a deload. And then when we start the next phase, we start with the correct volume, but a reduction in load. So we're kind of essentially doing really heavy on week 4 sometimes. And actually, in your case, I might do that quite a lot. Like a lot of the high level athletes that I work with, we fucking push it on week 4, and that's kind of like, that's a fun week.
Yeah.
You know, this is where we get a lot of enjoyment out of seeing where we've come, and it's motivating within itself. Like that's how I motivate people, by showing people the weight on the bar increasing. You know, so it's like objectively, I don't have to tell you, you know, good boy, you're doing great. I can just show you with the strength progressions. And that's, you know, automatic feedback that you're doing great. Do you know what I'm saying? So, so that's the kind of level of motivation that I give is the kilograms on the bar. The results speak for themselves. And then when we start back on week 1, it's just one of many strategies that I do have, mind you. So it's not just like, this is how it's going to be. You know, a lot of the times, you know, it doesn't even have to be 4 weeks. But then when I start back on week 1, the intensity will be low. Okay. And the reason why I like to have a low intensity for the first week of any block is to give yourself room to progress from week to week.
Yep.
And it makes everything a lot more predictable as well. So it's like, you can't predict that this week you're going to be on fire and then next week you're just going to be linearly have improved. Like that's not how it goes. You know, we're up and down. But if we start conservative, it gives us room to make. So it doesn't just give us room to improve. It gives us room to make errors.
Yep.
Okay. And this is where, you know, the closer I work with you, like the more, to be honest with you, a lot of my high-level athletes that I work with, they'll send me a video of their lifts, and I might not need to give any feedback. It's like good, yeah. You know what you're doing. I still like to see it all.
Yep.
Just so that I can have in my mind, like,
yeah,
I'll tell you now, loosely, that's how I like to structure my programs. RPE 7 on week 1, then 8, then 9, then deload. 7, 8, 9 deload, 7, 8, 9 deload, 7, 8, 9 deload, forever and ever.
Gotcha.
You know, and I'll have people that do so that's a 4-week plan, right? 7, 8, 9 deload, 7, 8, 9 deload. Sometimes I have, depending on the nature of the sport and the exercises, I might get program A and program B and do it like this. So it's an 8-week program, but we go week 1A, week 1B, week 2A, week 2B, week 3A, week 3B. Does that make sense? So we're kind of like, there's lots of different structures that we'll be doing. And that's kind of the structure that I do for my competitive athletes as we get closer to competition.
That was my next question, was going to be where do you slot in? Like, I generally compete once every 2 months on an international level is the sort of standard.
Love it. The way that I see it is like, depending on the sport, the nature of the sport, you know, like how do you feel after a competition? How's your arm? Are you beat up or what's?
Yeah. There's usually the need for a
recovery week,
a 1 to 2 week sort of recovery week where it's just rehab sort of pressures. There's nothing crazy going on, but depending on the match as well. If I've lost, it might be longer. If I've won, it can often be straight back to it. So it varies.
So when you lose an arm wrestle, it pretty much hurts. The position that you put in hurts.
You're under maximum tension through your connective tissue in your elbow, especially, and you just get ripped open against your will at max effort. A lot of inflammation through the elbow. Yeah.
Well, I don't, something that when I first started training weights, everyone wanted to have arm wrestles with me. And I got to the point, like, I'm not an arm wrestler, but I got to the point where it fucking hurt. And so I just have a thing, like, people come to me and they say, big guy, you're strong, let's have an arm wrestle. And I say no.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what
That's a good decision because it will screw up all your conventional lifting. It's one of the first things that I've met so many people who get into arm wrestling in the first month. They say my bench press has gone down 40% because of the pain in my elbows. But that aside, in terms of just my level of ability and technique, just so you know, I'm rubbish on everything. I don't know how to bench press properly. I was looking at videos the other day. I do fortunately have local guys that do know that can guide me. I'm going to be in Dubai next week, and I'm doing a collaboration with Larry, and the video is going to be Larry teaching me how to bench press properly. I'll have I have good people around me, but and I'll send you the videos of me bench pressing as well, and I'm sure you'll be like, oh man, this is a nightmare. What are we dealing with? But the good thing, I've got good people on the ground to refine me, and anything you tell me that they'll push me towards. What I'm most excited about is the periodization, is the programming of how to take the specific, the strengths that I'm most interested in, push and pull through my upper body, and very, very interested in taking a 90-degree bent arm and not letting it open. Like a full range curl is not so critical. Like the strength is transferable, but the true most specific and most valuable strength in arm wrestling is the ability to just have a static bicep strength. So from 90 degrees up, that strength there, like the world number 1 arm wrestler Levan, he'll do reps with 80 kilos there, no worries at all on one arm.
On a preacher.
Yeah. Just on a cable machine with 80 kilos direct weight at 90 degrees, he'll pick up that comfortably, straight with a strap through between his index finger and thumb. Where my number's around 60, where the world number 1 is 80, 82 to 86, maybe, sort of thing.
What, so that's the same weight class you mean?
No, he's the super heavyweight champ. So the number 1 in the world at my weight category is probably doing it at around 70, 75 or something like that, for that. So that's the sort of gap that's the number that I would love to chase, because if I'm going to be the world's best in my weight category, that's realistically where I've got to get to. Yeah.
And when do you train this movement?
For me, I currently just train it when I feel like it. And I feel like it about probably 40% of my training sessions involve it at the moment, in some way, shape, or
So
form.
that's multiple sessions per week you're doing this movement.
Yes.
How many sets, how many reps, what time under tension, and what intensity?
Yeah, so like for me, a typical one might be I will start with an RP. I'll start with a warm up weight of 20 kilos, and I'll do some just get the blood flow. Then I will jump to maybe 5 RPE, and I'll do 1 rep. Then I'll just go up in 2.5 kilo increments.
What does the rep look like?
One rep.
Is it just isometric contraction?
Yeah. So it's basically an isometric contraction with the moving of isometric through the elbow, but then my body will move and lift the weight up off the ground. So just getting 1 inch off the ground is a lift, but it's isometric through the bicep in a hammer curl sort of position.
Yep.
And I'll just 2.5 increment up till failure, and I'll fail with good form. So it's around an RPE 9, if I'm honest there.
When are you going to do that next?
I could do that. I could do it today. I'm ready.
Can you record it for me and send it all to me?
Yeah.
Every set?
Absolutely.
So the way that I like to do it, just so that it doesn't take up too much time, is to record. Like, don't record you walking around and like,
I'll send it to you. It'll be a 1 minute video. It'll be a 1 minute video with all the lifts. Yeah.
Great. So I'd like to see, perhaps you can give me an introduction on the setup and how you get into it.
Yep.
But then every consecutive set that you do, trim it.
Yep.
And then maybe show me the setup on the top set as well. Like show me the longer version on the top set as well.
I know the pain of people sending you 5-minute videos for a 10-second lift.
Yeah. But at the same time, for the top sets, I do like to see the setup.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So when it's lots and lots of different sets, it's like I like to see how people warm up. I also like to, when I'm working with new athletes, I like to learn, what they start to look like when they're fatiguing, when the weight starts getting heavy. Some people are just like slow from the start, and every set looks like, fuck, that's their max. And then they continue to keep progressing. And it's like, okay, so it's like everyone's different.
Yep. Gotcha.
And this is, the more of this stuff that I see, the more I get to learn you. And the more I can have a better idea on how to, how to program for you. I'm happy for you to be doing work with Larry Wheels. I think that's hilarious. When I first heard that you're doing that, I thought, that's fucking hilarious. Like, mate, that guy's like one of the strongest humans on the fucking planet.
Yep.
So to get experiences like that are priceless, actually. Like, do I think he's the best technician or the best coach on the planet? Absolutely not. But that's not an insult to him. I think the guy is an absolute machine.
Yeah.
And I think that this is what makes us great athletes as well, is it's experiences like this that allows us to see what goes behind. It's not just about, like, you look at a program and it says, 5 sets of 5 or whatever the fuck it says. That's, of course, that's learning, but it's what goes behind all of these things. Like, I don't know what you've organized to do with him. Like, how often are you going to hang out with him? What's the situation?
So I'm going to Dubai to compete in an arm wrestling tournament that Larry owns, or he's a part owner, I believe, in King of the Table, which is the arm wrestling production there in Dubai. And so I'm on the card. I'm taking on Khaled Giselle over there. Larry. So I'll be hanging out with Larry just whilst we're there. We'll because I'm somewhat assisting Larry on the other side of things. He's interested in arm wrestling, and I'm coaching him and helping him with arm wrestling technique and specifics. So we're trading a bit of our time and energy, and he's going to help me with some bench technique and all that, and do some videos whilst we're there. So how many times, like, I'll be commentating that event as well, King of the Table. So how many times I'm back and forth to Dubai, it might be once every 3 months, sort of thing. So yeah, it's cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
So I've coached Larry before.
There you go.
Yeah, years ago when he was doing strongman, he did strongman with Thor.
Yep.
And when he was over in Iceland, I was writing his programming for him for his strongman competition.
Yeah, nice.
And so, like, I know how the guy ticks. Like, the guy, I don't know if you know much about strongman movements, but the guy did a 200 kilogram log over his head.
Yep.
And I think it was like 6 weeks before that, he was struggling on 140 kilograms.
Yeah, wow.
And it's like the things that guy does,
Yeah.
it's just, you can't explain what it is. I don't know if it's got superhuman muscles. I don't know if it's this thing here is just a little bit different or a lot different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever it is, I think I think these are life experiences that we should you never look past, because this is where we actually fucking learn. Like, this is where I've learned a lot of the stuff that I've learned. Like, I've read a lot of books, I've worked with a lot of academics, but I think one of my biggest points of differences is I've worked with many, many, many of the strongest athletes on the planet, and I see what they do. I see the things that they do when they warm up. I see the things that they do in between sets, how long it takes them to recover.
Yep.
How they eat, how they recover during, like, in between sessions, like on those days off. Like, there's so much that you can learn that you should be taking in, not just like how he teaches you how to do a bench press.
Yeah, all the extras. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, and I've been so lucky in that respect as an arm wrestler. I've spent time with the greatest arm wrestlers alive: John Brzenk, Devin Larratt, Travis Bagent, and Todd Hutchins. These are legends of the sport, and I've soaked up as much from them. And now I'm in this phase where I'm like, I want to get fundamentally strong.
Yeah,
and and I'm blessed to be around people like Larry, now people like yourself, and it's like, oh man, yeah, I agree. Soak it all up.
Yeah.
Good fun, man. But
so I'm just thinking again, like, what are your thoughts on getting just a bit of the fundamental lifts down pat before you go and see Larry? So perhaps you can send me some of your bench pressing, and we can just go through a few technical cues just before you go to Larry.
Yeah, 100%. Tomorrow I'll get the opportunity to bench with Lachlan, so I'll get that on camera as well, and send that to you. But yeah, I agree. It'd be nice to have some form of basic shape down pat before I get to Larry.
Larry, I know his technique is different to mine. Like, he heavily relies on brute strength.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how much brute strength the guy has. The guy can bench press. I think he did over 307 kilograms or something like that. And it's just like, I don't even fucking know how this is even possible with this guy, you know?
Yeah.
But he did it. And I don't think that there's a single technique that he can teach that's going to make anyone else do that.
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
You know what I mean? But at the same time,
I think I'm very moldable at the moment. Like I said, I'm basically a clean canvas in the respect of technique and everything. So I'll just listen and learn and absorb it all. So
I think that's what you need to take in mind is listen, learn, but don't take it as gospel.
Yep.
Okay, this is the problem with blank canvas. Is the most beautiful thing to work with, but it's easy to fucking mess that up, right? So
you gotta paint the right picture in the first place.
Exactly. So if you're painting a picture from someone who just says, get on the bench and push as hard as you fucking can kind of thing, it's like, you know, this is what's going through my mind when you say to me, I don't have the best technique with weights, right? I think that's okay, because a lot of the exercises that strengthen us are simply a matter of, you know, laying down on the bench and pushing hard kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then it's complemented by the correct technique where you position your body in the safest, strongest position, right? That allows you to lever the best weights. It's like me saying to you, technique in arm wrestling doesn't work as long as I've got really strong arms. You're going to look at me and go, good one, idiot. I'll see you on the table, mate, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So something that people need to understand with weights is, even though it's a lever that is allowing you to lift heavier weights, it's the safest technique to do it. And by using the correct technique, it's going to allow you to handle heavier loads, so that when you go back to the other technique, which is where you're just laying on the bench and pushing the heavy thing off your chest, you are a lot stronger with that as well.
Yep.
Okay, so I believe in a combination of both, of understanding the fundamental techniques that we use to lever heavy weights up at the highest level. And I believe that they heavily complement, when you take leg drive out of a bench, when you take the arch out of a bench, using dumbbells, things like that, when it's raw strength. Okay. And the combination of both of those is what we're going to be focusing a lot on.
Yep. Beautiful.
Okay. So either way, like take in everything he's got to teach, because he will definitely have things that he can teach you that I fucking can't, because the guy's a lot stronger than me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that matters. Like, a lot of people say it doesn't actually matter. It's, the coach doesn't need to be strong and all those things. Let's keep that canvas clean, right? It all matters. Everything matters. Everyone's different. You're going to be different. Your levers are different to mine. The fact that your right hand is so much more dominant to your left is going to change the mechanics of your movement as well.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So one of the things that I want to be able to do, like, I believe that do you understand when I say bilateral movements compared to unilateral movements? So like barbell work for you, because you have got such an imbalance, it's not going to be the same. But my objective is to get you to be able to be more balanced, so that the barbell work will have a better carryover for you.
Yeah, I think I as an example, strict curl. My standing strict curl is like 72 kilos. With two hands. My standing strict curl with fucking one arm is like 47.5. It's like, what the hell? What's my left doing? It's crazy.
Yeah, but you know what? It's like telling the best, tennis player in the world to change hands and expecting to be as good with both hands. You just can't be. So imbalances are totally normal, and they're expected at your level, right? But in the background, we work on correcting these imbalances so that we can play the long game for a little bit longer. Right? So my objective isn't to make you so your left and right are equal. That's not going to happen.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean we're not going to work towards it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Awesome. All right. So I guess so the next move from here, if you could send me those videos that I've asked for. I'd love to see your videos of your benching. And maybe top sets of other exercises as well. All right. And then I'll just give you my 2 cents. You've seen my benching tutorials before?
I haven't looked at them specifically. I've watched you bench, but I haven't seen your tutorials. So I did watch a whole heap of random tutorials the other day, though.
On my Instagram page, the link in my bio. If you click on that, I've got free tutorials on squat, bench, and deadlift.
Okay.
It's like you scroll down to the bottom, it'll say free bench press tutorial. Click on that one.
Easy as.
And I think that's a pretty quick one. I'll tell you how many minutes it is. Anyway, it's a pretty quick one. Go through that and then try and replicate that technique.
Yeah, beautiful. Easy.
All right. And then send me the videos.
I think I'm good at replicating technique. And I say that because, all my life, whether when I was a kid, when I was pursuing tennis, and as an arm wrestler, my best way of actually learning and improving is to, in my mind, I even go down to mannerisms of people. I shadow box other people. Like you watch me. If I watch your videos, I'm gonna start literally pulling the same face that you were pulling as you were getting on the bench.
Hey,
it all helps.
It's a thing. I know it all too well. I've seen it all before. So do it. Do it.
Beautiful. All right, man. Well, I really appreciate your time and everything. I'm looking forward to moving forward with this. I think it's going to only lead to good things. And yeah, man.
Me too, mate. Me too. It was great to meet you. And I look forward to just being here on the journey, man.
Beautiful. All right. Cheers. I'm going to end the recording here, guys. Thank you very much. And we'll talk with Sebastian again soon.
Take care, mate.